going to give this a go through. I wanted to do a quick video on cultural appropriation because it came up again because of the Chinese prom dress, and I think I did a video on it previously about cultural appropriation, but my views on it have changed slightly. I mean, not so much changed as done sort of a course correction. I used to think that I disagreed with PC and SJW culture on the cultural appropriation. I used to think I disagreed with them about, my thought was there's not really a problem to cultural appropriation. I mean, it's not like that. Anyway, my views have evolved slightly. Specifically, I don't think it exists at all, actually. But let's get into it. It was the good book that changed my mind, and when I say the good book, I mean the dictionary. Something was bugging me about the cultural appropriation thing, and this prom dress thing kind of brought it to light. It's like the idea is, in fact, let me go back. It's gonna go dark a sec, and actually look at the dictionary, and specifically the verb form of appropriate. And among other things, it means to set apart, to legislate, but also, and here's the thing, to take for oneself or to take without permission or consent, to seize or expropriate, or alternately it can mean to steal, especially to commit petty theft. Here's a problem with that. Here's a couple problems with that. One, culture doesn't, taking a step back from that, what the fuck is culture? Culture is the way a lot of people act, the kind of rules they set for themselves and people around them. It's a constant, dynamic, fluid exchange of emotions, thoughts, ideas, fads, trends, fashions. I mean, the actual manifestations of it are boundless. I mean, it's everything. It's the kind of clothing we wear, the words we say, the hair we style ourselves into or don't, in my case. It's everything. It's so many things, but it doesn't belong to anyone. And it's very fluid. I mean, the culture that surrounds you right now is very different than the one that surrounded you 10 years ago. I mean, shows like that 70s show was hilarious because it was like, oh, what a culture shock. This is what things were like when we were kids. You know, not a million years ago, not 100 years ago, not in some foreign nation. This is exactly where we are right now, only like 30 years earlier. Not that shocking, and yet it is. So the idea that a culture is a thing that can be seized at any moment, that's ridiculous. That's a poor understanding of what culture is. Culture, when we look at a culture, what we're looking at is a snapshot of a particular moment in time. You know, this is what things sort of are, but often to define a culture, you have to step outside of it. It's like, well, you can say what Indian culture or Chinese culture in a particular region or place or time look like. You have to be outside of it because you wouldn't see it as being necessarily these elements cultural. You just think they were normal if you were actually part of these cultures. Likewise, I think that problem introduces itself into the SJW condemnation of cultural appropriation, or what they see as cultural appropriation, which I think is I see as kind of nonsense. It's they don't see their own culture as a culture, or they don't care about it. And that causes some problems. One of which is American culture gets, by their definition, appropriated constantly. American TV shows in particular, X-Files, The Flintstones, I mean, Simpsons, you fucking name it. They've been translated into a million different languages, all of our movies, I mean, it's now a big deal that our movies are overseas now. I mean, it's a huge market, particularly the Chinese market, but also the European market, and so on and so forth. I mean, our culture is everywhere, and people, and that's part of the thing. When we say culture, it's what you really mean is, like I said, it's a million little decisions. Like this, what you're really saying is things I think look or sound cool. It's where I live. It's constantly noisy. There were fireworks earlier. I'm pretty sure they weren't fireworks. There's a push and pull at every aspect of it, and things go out of style. We get tired of things. We get tired of wearing the same clothes. Except for me, I'm still wearing the same shit I wore in the 80s, so bad example. Anyway, my point being, you can't, God, and this is, you can't steal someone's culture. You can't, I mean, I understand why they try to use a different word for it, appropriate, because it doesn't make any fucking sense. If some girl wears a Chinese prom dress, it's not like the Chinese dresses in China disappeared, or that they like their dress. Oh, it's like some chick in America is wearing this? Oh, well, I fucking hate this now. I mean, I get the sort of that, you know, cliche woman goes to a party and there's someone else wearing the same outfit. Suddenly you're less special. You're less, you know, creative in your choices if someone else made the exact same one. But you can't claim that that person committed a crime against you because they like the same things you do or had the same ideas you did or copied from the same styles. And make no mistake, it's not like people who have a particular culture, the Chinese or anything. The people alive today are the ones who made up all of it. Everything exists as part of a continuum. Things are constantly changing, building on the past. And as we live in a constantly shrinking world, we all build on each other's pasts. I mean, Chinese culture has had a huge influence on American culture. But I could say the same thing about German culture and Japanese culture and Mexican culture now. Even Canadians, to not a small extent, particularly the British. Fucking fuck. What they want to do is say this is a special thing and we want to be part of a special club and you're not allowed in it. Like, make no mistakes, it's exclusionary. It's trying to put like some sort of door on it and having a secret meeting place that people we don't approve of can't go in, and that's ridiculous. I guess what kind of predicated this was I want this stupid cultural appropriation thing to die horribly because it's stupid. It's stupid and groundless. You can't steal someone else's culture. It's, if you could, then American culture has been appropriated like hell all over the world. And in general, Americans don't care. And that's an important point. Simply because one of the part of the fallout of this was a bunch of Chinese said, we don't really care if some chick wears a Chinese dress. That's actually kind of cool. There's someone in another country who thinks our stuff's cool enough to wear. Sweet. You know, they weren't, you know, how dare you? Likewise, American culture gets taken all over the world. I mean, it's, you know, we don't mind if a lot of people watch our movies and shit like that and start dressing in our t-shirts. Good. We can sell them there. That's great. But more to the point, I think something that gets missed is if you don't see something as appropriatable, what you're saying is that that thing is normal and anything you can appropriate or that has to be regulated for some reason is special and weird, is an outlier, an aberration. I've never heard anyone saying you can't appropriate American culture. Well, that just means American culture is just normal culture. It just works under the normal rules of culture, where it's just a bunch of decisions and preferences of millions, even billions of people. Whereas if you have to suddenly throw a fit when someone wears a Chinese pattern, that means Chinese patterns are special somehow. That they're different than that makes them different somehow than just really nice old American patterns that created in the US for different reasons, different American style dresses and so on. Why is an American prom dress up for grabs for anyone? I mean, no one would give a shit if someone in China wore an American prom dress. No one would care. Literally no one would care. But we do if we were China. You know, it doesn't follow. It's inconsistent. It makes no sense. And I think it's, above all else, I think it's a misuse of the word appropriate. I don't know, that's me. I need to do more videos. I really like doing them lately for no good reason, and I'm trying to do more. So, this is me. That's it.